Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, you've seen me create portraits with fairly elaborate multi-strobe studio type setups like what I do for those on the wall there. Heck, even my YouTube tutorials, I use at least one or two moderately sized flashes. But today we're going to have some fun. We are going to create a portrait with a constant light, a small constant light, a very small constant light. We're going this small. This is the kind of light that typically shines as a hair light or an edge light, background light. That's normally how you'd use it. We're not going to be normal today. I'm going to take this light and use it as the key light in a portrait. No. I'm going to take this light and do a one light portrait with it. The light I'm using is a SmallRig RM120 video light. This video is not sponsored, but SmallRig did provide the light for testing. This is a bicolor light with the color temperature continuously adjustable from 2500K to 8500K, so you should be able to get a match in most lighting situations. This light is well made. It's got a metal housing, USB charging, and two /20 mounts, plus an included hot shoe adapter. They claim it has a 3-hour battery life, and I haven't exhaustively tested that, but I can say that I have yet to kill the battery in my use of it for this video at mostly 100% power. So let's get into this portrait. I'm gonna do this in my studio, but you can do it in any room that has at least some ambient light. I'm just gonna use the corner behind me, not a formal setup, not where I shoot photography normally. Just like you, just a room. The next thing is you're gonna have to stretch your photography muscles a little bit to pull this off, and you're going to realize you're going to need 5 things to do it. The first thing you'll need is, of course, a pretty fast lens. I'm going to be working in the f2 to 2.8 range. Depending on your location, you're probably going to have to use a higher ISO setting than you're used to. This is a small light. It's not going to overpower anything. I'd recommend using a tripod. That will help you not have to use such a high ISO because you can reduce the shutter speed a little bit if it's on a tripod. Once again, I recommend you use an angle that has at least some ambient light, but not too much. You're gonna have to kind of feel this out. Again, small light, not overpowering anything. You're gonna need a reflector of some sort. You can use a photographic reflector, or even a white wall will work. Okay, so let's go over the setup I'm gonna be using. First, this is going to be a head and shoulders portrait. I'm not gonna get too crazy here and try a full length, although I would do it. This one's gonna be head and shoulders. I'm going to use the light bare on a stand without a diffuser or reflector. I'm trying to get as much of the wattage onto the subject as possible. There's gonna be a silver reflector opposite the light for fill. I'm gonna be using my 85mm f2 lens, and I'm gonna be using it wide open, something I seldom do. Okay, so now this is important. If you know you have a predominant light temperature, tungsten or daylight, you can set this light to that temperature. If you don't, if it's a mixed light situation, what I recommend is to set your camera to average white balance and put the color temperature of the light by eye on your subject, just ballpark it, and then shoot a gray card. And then in post, you can get the white balance pretty much squared away. Okay, so the setup's pretty simple. Now let's talk about the exposure. What you want to do for an exposure is you want to have whatever the exposure is with the ambient light, meaning the light that's already in the area where you're shooting without adding any light, to be 1/2 to 1 stop below the final exposure you want to use with the light on the subject. So for example, in this image, the ambient exposure with no light added was f1.4, and the final exposure with the light added was f2. And you can see that that gives you a little bit of contrast and modeling on the face, and a little background separation too. Needless to say, you can't just go by the math. You have to adjust to your taste and your style. It took way longer to explain this than it does to actually do it as usual. Give it a try. You'll find that it's pretty easy if you have only a small light. It can be done. If you have a nice small color correct light like this one, it is a double win if you're a videographer to realize that you can also shoot a portrait with this. So if you want to learn more about my thoughts on exposure, I have a link to some other videos here. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions, I look forward to chatting about it in the comments for this video. Until the next video, cheers.